You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney Theme Parks podcast, and this is show number 545 for Sunday, the 20th of April, 2025.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good chum Jane Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. Hello there, Jane.
Hello there, Michelle, and welcome home.
Thank you very much. I am in awe of my flight back yesterday because not only did we fly back in a quicker time than we were supposed to, we got off the plane with our luggage and into the car in less than 30 minutes.
Wow.
We literally got our luggage as well. It was like, oh my word, what's happening?
That's a rarity.
Yeah, it kind of makes up for the kerfuffle of the day I was flying out when I realised, oh my lord, I am not going to make my connecting flight because they messaged me to say my outbound flight to the USA was going to be delayed by over 3 hours.
Yes, not good really. Not what you want when you got that connecting flight to pick up, is it?
I was going to be home alone in New York, Jane.
And not in a good way.
No. But, I managed to book on another airline and I got there. And the good news is I've been doing a bit of research and it looks likely I might be able to claim back some of the extra money that I paid for the other airline on the outbound trip because, yeah, that's what the policy says. So fingers crossed, everybody.
Oh, yeah. If you can get a little bit of something back from somebody, that's always worthwhile doing.
Yeah.
Don't just assume.
I think I'll talk more about the trip, etc. on our Patreon show. But I had a really good time, spent some quality time with friends, and I think that was the goal of the first week. And then the second week was really about our 2010 trip that never really happening. And it happened, and it met and exceeded expectations. It wasn't a fantastic trip. I really loved it. The New York part was basically, I hit off everything I wanted to do. But in my opinion now, it's a one and done. It's not like going to Disney. I'm not probably going to go back to New York. And that's not a slight on it at all. I really enjoyed it. But I don't see the draw of me going back again.
Which is fair enough, yeah.
Anyway, let's move on because we have got some on this day in Disney history.
Ooh, rock it to me.
Well, the first one I'm going to pick on is a place that I think you've now eaten at, and I know I've eaten at because I've enjoyed it. But on this day in 1991, the Sci-Fi Diner opened up at Disney's Hollywood Studios, as it was then, MGM Studios.
Yeah.
And for me, it is my English person's perception of what a drive-in was actually like. Okay, yes, I know you didn't sit in plastic cars. There were real ones. I do know that. But yeah, as I was growing up, that was my perception of what Americans did on an evening during the 1950s is they drove up because I'd watched too many times Grease, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. I'm going to say it's not something that ever made its way over here. I suppose because we haven't got the weather for it, have we, to be fair. Who wants to sit in a car with it pelting down with rain watching a movie and you can't hear what's happening on the movie because all you can hear is the rain hitting the tin roof of your car.
Oh, the windscreen wipers going because they've got to try and clear the screen. So, yeah, it never really kicked off in the UK, did that type of entertainment. So, this next one is a little bit of a link to what I actually did on my last day in New York. And on this day in 1996, Christopher Robert Milne, the son of A.A. Milne, the creator of Winnie the Pooh, passed away at the age of 75 in Devon. And as you know, Pooh, Kanga, Piglet, Tigger and E.R. were donated to the New York Public Library in 1987, and I had the opportunity to go and view them in situ. So I thought that was quite an apt one.
I'm going to say a very apt one to come across, yeah.
because the original bear had come from Harrods for his first birthday, and he called the bear Winnie after a real bear he'd seen at London Zoo. So there was quite a lot of Londonism into the origin story of the wonderful creation of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. So that's it really I've got for history. Just a couple of little bits there, Jane.
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah.
So we're going to go back in time.
I'm going to say, that was what I thought. I need a sound effect, and my hands are waving. I know that's really stupid because we're obviously only, audio, but you feel the need to do a bit of a Doctor Who special.
Yeah. It just flashed my brain to Big Bang Theory, where sometimes Sheldon is the Flash and he moves really quickly. Or they did this episode where everything happened really quickly and they were moving really quickly. And yeah, so we're going back in time to Jane's monster trip to Florida. And as you know, she hadn't been in the theme parks since 2013, to Walt Disney World anyway.
Yeah,
so there was a plethora of new, shiny things for you to go, enjoy, and talk about. I'm going to hit with the elephant in the room that you haven't even confided in me personally as a friend yet, which I'm moderately upset about. Did you get your backside on Tower of Terror?
No. Yeah, it was a peculiar one. I had every intention of going on it, and then Simon was a bit like nonplussed about it. I hadn't realised that he's not overly a big fan of it. He has ridden it before, and was very much in the mind of, well, yeah, not really bothered sort of thing. And he hadn't really realised that I kind of wanted to. So we were in this sort of weird scenario of every time we kind of were down that end of Hollywood Studios, the waits were particularly high. So it was like, oh, I kind of want to do it, but I don't really want to pay for it. I don't want to be like in a too long a queue either. And then Simon was a little bit like, oh, well, Jane's not really interested in it. And I've done it once before and I was okay about it, but I'm not really bothered about going back on it either. So we didn't. But we have now said that when we get back, we will make every effort to do it. Promise, cross my heart and all that.
I don't know. You'd said that before, so I am not sure about this at all. The only way that I will believe you is that you go to Hollywood Studios on your first day of the next trip and you have a lightning lane booked for it.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far, Michelle, but no, I have every intention, more so than I had on this occasion. Let's put it that way.
I only mention the lightning lane because me and Thea are of a similar viewpoint with regards to lightning lanes. And I know if you've spent the money on a lightning lane, you'll get your backside on that attraction.
No, absolutely. But, our intention had always been for this vacation was we weren't going to be paying out for lightning lane if we could avoid it. And we didn't. We didn't put our hand in our pocket for an individual or a multi or anything. And we kind of went in with the attitude of we wanted to be there and to experience being in that Disney environment. And if that meant we got to ride things, great. But if it didn't, that was fine as well. So we really went in with a very much of a chill approach to everything. We did find that obviously we were kind of there. I think I said last time that spring break was a bit weird this year, so it kind of has been like a bit of an extended spring break. So rather than maybe falling closer towards Easter, it's kind of been spread out a little bit more. So it was busy on some days that we were there. We were there St. Patrick's Day, which was stupidly busy at Epcot. And had we have thought about it, we wouldn't have gone to Epcot that day. So I think when we realised how busy it was going to be, we were careful in what we chose to do and very much clicked into we're here, we're enjoying just being here, soaking up the atmosphere, exploring, looking at things, having some nice bits and bobs to eat, and then rides were kind of almost like a bonus sort of thing on top of everything, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Well, while we're at Hollywood Studios, let's stay studio focused. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
The best.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
absolutely loved it. We rode it multiple times. Never really waited more than 45, 50 minutes tops sort of thing for it. Yeah, absolutely loved it. Can't say enough good things about it. It is a must do. The and sit and riding it with somebody like Simon, who is very aware of special effects and the artistry and what they're actually physically doing in a ride. And there's numerous occasions where he pointed things out to me that I had not seen or fully appreciated. It does give you a whole new perspective because he was in awe of what they're able to create within that space. And having been in that space when it was a great movie ride and going, oh, okay, you know, what they've done with that building and everything, and the little touches and stuff. Yeah, absolutely loved it. Would ride it back to back quite happily.
And it'll be interesting if you do have plans to go over to Disneyland, because in my opinion, their queue is phenomenal with their set pieces that they have in the queue. So, you know, you can get a different experience over there.
Yeah, I won't mention at this point that, you know, Star Wars Celebration that's just finished in Japan. Do you know where it is in 2027, Michelle?
Could it be Anaheim?
Well, it's LA, so it must be, mustn't it?
Oh.
I've not looked at the details. All I've seen before we came on to record was LA 2027. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to leave it there, just like that.
I do know by the time we release this show, that Jim will have a trip booked. Just putting it out there.
Well, maybe not a trip, but maybe plans.
Yeah. Okay, well, while we're talking about Hollywood studios, there's two big areas that you hadn't seen. Let's go over to the sort of Pixar, Toy Story land, Slinky Dog Dash, Alien Spinning Malarkey, and obviously we know about the other attraction there.
Yeah.
We know about that. So what do you think about those two?
Love the land. We didn't do the swirling saucers. I wasn't particularly bothered about doing alien swirling saucers, to be fair. We had an experience on Toy Story Mania where we queued and everything went just very static, and we actually kind of exited because we'd been in the queue for almost the length of the wait time posted and it wasn't moving. We did then get back on it late at night and literally walked on, which was absolutely fantastic. Had a great experience. Now, Slinky Dog, obviously, we all know that the queue times for Slinky Dog are immense. And I was watching the ride and going, oh, yeah, it's okay. It's just like a little coastery thing. And I kept looking, thinking, I'm not prepared to stand in that queue. And we'll just keep an eye on the queue time, And it got to almost one of our last few days of the vacation. And we said, oh, actually, we'll just go for it. I think it was at about a 60-minute wait at the time, so it was quite low in comparison to what we had seen. And we did actually get through a little bit quicker, and I think we got through in about 50 minutes. And we rode it, and we came off the end, and Simon said to me, "What do you think?" And he said, "I've never seen your face light up so much." He said, "You looked so happy." And the word out of my mouth was delightful. Aww. And I said, I get it now. I said, looking at it on, you know, when you walk by, you go, oh, yes, coaster, whatever. But there is something that they do on that coaster, just a few little tricks and things that you come off going, I want to go back on. So I do wish I'd taken that plunge and ridden it much earlier on in the holiday, because it would have been on my go back to and repeat bucket list. So I now need to go and ride it at night time, because obviously I've not done that. But yeah, I was completely surprised by it. And yeah, I just got off it going, I can't even describe on here, because all I want to do is do a great big grin on my face. And that's how it left me feeling. So yeah, loved it.
And that's the wonder of going to a place like Walt Disney World, that you know you're going to get all the feels.
Yeah, I think it's that. Yeah, it's indescribable, isn't it? It's like, how can a steel roller coaster that goes up and down and does a few little curves and one thing another make you feel like that when you come off it? It floors me every time. Yeah. But loved it.
Okay, another elephant in the room, and I know we've spoken about the land itself in a little bit. Rise of the Resistance.
Loved it. Which I know it's not one of your faves. Yeah, we rode it maybe 3 times, I think, in total. We were canny about it. I think the longest queue time we joined was around about the 60 minutes. We had one experience where we got to within a few feet of the first pre-show bit, if you want to call it that, with Ray and BB-8, and it just stopped, and I was like, oh, this is gonna take ages, because we know that it's got a long reset if it does go down. So we were stood there, and it's like, what do we do? What do we do? And there was a group of teenage lads in front of us who had been a little bit annoying, because we figured out later on they were part of a marching band. So consequently, as you're walking around the queue, anything that looked like a drum, they were drumming on. So as a grumpy late 50 something, it was getting to be a little bit. And then we started talking to them, and they were lovely. We chatted away with them and all sorts. But anyway, we were all stood there, and everybody was on and on. We got people moving around the queue trying to figure out what was happening. There was a few PA announcements. You know those PA announcements when it sounds like somebody's talking through a cloth. And it's like, I'm sure I'm supposed to know what you've just said, love, but I've got no idea. And then the group of lads decided to bail. So they left the queue, and I felt so sorry. I'm glad I didn't bump into them that straight afterwards, because literally they'd left the queue, and about 90 seconds later, everything moved.
Oh,
I felt so sorry for them. But no, absolutely had an amazing time. I love the fact that all the cast are so in character. And again, you know, I urge anybody, if you can ride with my husband, it throws a whole new light on what you're seeing. You know, when he's telling me about the fact that those, when you're in your little cell and you're seeing Hux and Kylo talking to you, and they're on a screen, he says, do you know that screen's casting shadows? And I'm like, what? He says, look, you know, and how they've actually cast shadows of how they're walking, so that you don't think, oh, it's just a screen, that you think they're actually there. And I hadn't picked up on that, because obviously it's so well done. If it hadn't have been there, I would have noticed, but Simon picks up on all these little bits and pieces. So it's fascinating to ride something with him. I should rent him out. I could make a fortune off him. But no, absolutely loved it. And the more we rode it, the more I liked it. So I know for you, not so much, but no, definitely big thumbs up from us too.
So if we're talking about that, let's talk about Smuggler's Run.
I'm in two minds about Smuggler's Run, I have to admit. I personally am at odds as why they felt they needed to make it a video game at the same time as a ride. Well, I know why, because otherwise it's just Star Tours, effectively. When we rode it for our first ride, we were with some friends, and they said, oh, you two need to be pilots. And I was doing left and right, and Simon was doing up and down, and we were absolutely rubbish. I think the perception was, because Simon makes video games, that he would know what he's doing. And actually, Simon's brain was being too analytical about how to fly it, if that makes sense, because he knows what you could or could not be doing with it. And we came off, and we were like, what did we just do? I'm not sure what we did, where we went, how. And we both came off being a little bit bamboozled, shall we say. And kind of come away going, oh, that was a bit... And my takeaway was, when I go on a ride, I don't want to have to work for it. I want the ride to come to me. And that felt like we got a rough deal, because we weren't very good as pilots. And I felt a lot of pressure on to do things. I thought, I don't want to be feeling like... I mean, we were fortunate, because apart from a single rider that joined us, there was 5 of us in our party, so it didn't really matter. But I'd have felt awful if through my ineptness we had a really bad experience and I affected 4 other people on our quote-unquote ship.
Mm.
So
I will agree with you that I've ridden it twice, I think. If you sat at the back just pressing buttons, it is the dullest attraction in the world. If, however, you are the pilot and everybody else in your little pod is in your group, and when we did that, where Tom and I were driving, and we had Tommy and Lena with us, we had Nan with us, and they were just egging us on, going for it. We were laughing. I was literally crying with laughter. It was that fun. And I felt, because there wasn't that onus of spoiling it for anybody else because they've ridden it umpteen times. They just allowed us and enabled us. Then I did see the beauty of that attraction. And for me, I enjoyed that more than the other attraction. But I suppose it's all down to what you're doing and who you're with. Yeah.
Well, that was the interesting thing, because we kept looking at it. And to be fair, the wait times were not bad at all for Millennium Falcon. And the queue area is just astonishing. Love the queue area. We actually did ride it a second time. We waited. Oh, look, I think it's about a 25-minute wait or something daft like that. So we went on, and one thing that Simon and I were finding was that, especially at Galaxy's Edge, we'd taken the opportunity to wear our Star Wars roleplay group, the East Midlands Garrison. We have some hockey shirts made. So they're obviously plastered with Star Wars logos and things. So it was quite a conversation starter. And we actually got in our queue, we were talking to a chap and his son. And they asked about the hockey shirts we were wearing. So then we got into a conversation, showing them photos of us in our Star Wars cosplay and everything. And we got on with this father and his son really well. And we were talking about the positions on the ride. So we said, well, if we're together, we'll let you guys do pilot and co-pilot, because they've not done that before. So as it was, we were with them in their little group. So Simon and I were the gunners. Mm-hmm. They flew it. And we had a much better time because they were more adept at flying it. I could just sit there and press a button to the left and actually take in what was happening on the screen in front of me and enjoy the visuals. So we came off that the second time in a much better frame of mind. But it also made us think, when we saw the ride times again later on in the holiday, it was like, oh, it's always going to depend on who you get in your little group. And the only other thing I would say as well is, and I don't know how it was for you, Michelle, but when you get into the bit where they're putting you into your groups of 6, and you get into the Millennium Falcon itself, and you have what people refer to as the chess room with a little round table. Now, I'd seen videos online of when this ride was launched, and it appeared that you were allowed to wander and sit and take your photos, and then they would call your group to go through. Mm-hmm. When we were there was groups of 6 everywhere being kept together. And like our friend said, we'll go and sit at the table. And it was like, well, if we do that, we won't be in our group anymore. And we were being ushered through. So you didn't really get a chance to explore that room because it was all, look, no, you're in this group here. And there was literally about 5 or 6, maybe 7 groups of 6 in that area. And you thought, well, I can't go anywhere because nobody's given me a code as to say what my group is, or it was very confusing and not as we'd seen it originally on vlogs and things when it first launched. And then the only other thing was, from Simon's point of view, being the Star Wars nerd that he is, when we got through to where we were going, he went, yeah, but on the Falcon, that's not the way you go to the cockpit, because you go that way. You know, but to Star Wars fans, Shell, this is a big thing, isn't it? If you're supposed to be flying the Millennium Falcon, they know which corridor you're supposed to go down. And we didn't, because our group wasn't in that area.
Oh, bless you.
I know. Like I say, I could rent Simon out. It's a fantastic experience to go on these rides with him.
It's the same when I go on an attraction with Stephen Klemowska. He can literally tell me if an animatronic has moved 15 centimetres to the left, and I'm just there enjoying it blithely, not even paying attention. And these people who have this photographic memory, who can explain the backstory, fantastic. So let's just finish off with anything else at Hollywood Studios. Did you have the opportunity to say goodbye to some of the attractions we know that are going?
Yeah, we saw Muppet Vision a couple of 3 times during our stay there. I did start to doze off on one of them. I think it's just because I'd done so many steps that day, and it was kind of nice to sit down for a bit. We didn't do Rock and Roller Coaster, which I know is kind of going, not going, but that's just because I don't want to go upside down. And the few times that we were over that way, the weights were silly, or the ride was down completely. What else was there at... was that it at Hollywood Studios?
I think that's it. The only other thing really that has slightly modified since you were last there is Fantasmic. Did you go and see that?
No, we didn't bother to go and see Fantasmic, actually. No, we saw the projection show on the Grauman's Theatre, which was fine and what have you. But no, we didn't actually bother with Fantasmic this time around.
Okay. I think for some people it's a must do every trip. I suppose that wait, if you haven't got a dinner package or anything like that, you've got to get there at certain time, and then you've got maybe an hour sitting on those most uncomfortable benches in the whole world.
Yeah, and the only thing that we did find was a few evenings where the temperature did drop quite a bit. Obviously we were there in March time, so first thing in the mornings it was quite chilly. Then it would get up to be stupidly hot, like 80s, mid to high 80s. And then obviously on the evening, it would suddenly just drop down quite dramatically. So I think at that point, we were quite happy to be walking around and moving rather than sitting getting cold.
Anything else? Well, we've got the Frozen sing-along.
No, I didn't bother with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think you would have done. I like it because it means I can sit down in air conditioning for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I think if we'd have been there in hotter weather, probably that would have maybe been more of a thing to do. And I think a lot of it was like when we maybe thought about it, the shows had finished for the day and things like that. So, yeah.
So thinking forward about what's coming in the upcoming months, we know we're going to be having Disney Villains Unfairly Ever After. What do you think about that one? Because that's going to be something for your next trip, maybe?
It will be. I mean, I think May the 26th is the date they've said it's going to be open. And there's a new song that's been done specifically for it. So it's going to be an interesting one to see, especially, is it going to be a long-term show that's going to be there with Villains Land coming, hopefully, all fingers crossed, to Magic Kingdom at some point in the future. Yeah, I would be tempted to go and see it if we were there. I think particularly any subsequent trips that we end up making, having had the ability to do a majority of the rides that we hadn't done before, I think it maybe means that shows and things that might take a second seat sort of thing might be a bit more on our radar going back for another visit.
There's also The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure coming back, but not as it was.
No, I mean, when we were there, we could see that they're taking down some of the signage outside, but I know since, I think within a few days of us returning, it very evidently work has started because was planters put out, and the seats that had been left on that side bit where you would queue had all been taken in. So obviously work is afoot for that. And again, I used to like the Little Mermaid show, so I wouldn't be adverse to seeing what they've done with it second time around.
And I think that's it. That's new coming to Hollywood Studios, and I think that is a perfect spot to wrap up this week's show. And we'll talk about the other attractions in next week's show. If you want to hear more from us, we have our patreon.com/Disney Dream Girls page where we share extra audio and say a big thank you for supporting the show financially. You can catch up on what we're up to over on Instagram @DisDreamGirls. And there's also our show notes on our website, DisneyDreamGirls.com. But until next time, it's a goodbye from me.
And bye from me.